56th edition of Invest Data Trading Academy live with Ambrose. Yes, good news. I said that the market at global scene are looking up as a result of what US and China getting to tie their deals on trade issue that have changed the sentiment in the market ahead of other economic events like MPC Fed meeting and others. But I will tell you that good news that NGS also here in Africa is also extending that bullish momentum at this one. Even when NGS was seeing a mixed market, but was seeing profit takers hitting the market, but that will not change the momentum we are seeing right now because we are seeing that high cap stocks on the exchange NGS are still looking up. But let's go back to our foreign market to see how they are doing before we come back to the local market and look at the numbers that we are discussing today. We are looking at Accesscorp half-year result and that of Stanbic IBTC Q3. We are looking at also NEM insurance Q3 and RedStar Q2. These are the numbers we're discussing. But let's go back to see what is happening in the global scene. I'll tell you that the stocks around the globe are really in the green as a result of what the trade deals optimism, and also was that ahead of MPC meeting, $10 is also drifting. Also, these are the things that also shaping the market. If you look at Asia market, I think that many market there or stocks there are really in green right away. As the fear of tension, or the fear of trade dispute and others as currently just started easing. That have put that rebound we are seeing in that market right away. For me, it's a good news for not only Asia market but the whole global market. We are seeing kind of a rally in this market in both in Europe, in US, we are seeing market, and Africa is not left behind as usual. Africa is looking up. But who believe that this US and China trade progress or deal, Japan and also South Korea also as the market leading right away now as we speak. Well, I believe that investors are paying attention to what this means for the market, and that's why they are reacting in this direction. The good one that in Asia, we can see a sharp broad-based buying interest this morning at that market, lifted by what the expectation of Fed meeting of Fed rate cut again later this week, and also signal of easing trade tension. Both are also impacted the market, not only in Asia. Other markets have said earlier. But if you look at also the expected rate cut from Fed, that has also like another push. And also don't forget when Beijing and Washington are discussing on this issue and progress or this has even been kind of a seed at this point, that also push the market in the direction, expecting that yes, that comes another policy meeting in US that 25 basis points are likely also to go up. That means in terms of reducing the rate. That will be expected that after the 2 days meeting by Wednesday, I think investors will get more information on that. That's also be a plus forward for the market after we've seen a soft cut in the month of September. This is also another one expect. But traders are already pricing in all this movement into stock, both Fed guidance and other timing, to see more numbers and also to give a direction. But I believe that the weak sentiment in the market there in Asia or US also, I'll tell you, as somehow further reduced, but all eyes are still what the negotiation will be at the end of the day. That's why I say they're almost sealing the deal, but I believe that at the end of the day, Trump and the president of both South Korea and that of China will also agree, and also this will also be a good news forward for the global market. I believe that that is where the market globally will breathe out, preparing for what another rally in 2026. The year is already winding down. We're already seeing Q3 numbers, and that we don't tell that what we're going to expect, what to expect to look to see going to the future. Yes, I tell that blue chips companies in China market are really up this morning. You can see that the index called the Shanghai CS 500 has risen by almost 0.7 as we speak now, while the Shanghai component also is up by 0.8. Hong Kong, like I said earlier, is up by 1% up, and I tell you that the tech companies are the one leading in that market, parting it, and also we expect to see that the South Korea and the Japan shares are already hitting a new all-time high as we speak, just like we're experiencing in Nigeria market here. say that Japan, their index, or the Nikkei, 225 is also up by 2%, surpassing the 50,000 mark as to speak this moment, and that of also hitting 50,491.23, and that of the South Korea also was that data was also is up by 1.7%, which is also another thing you should also keep your eyes on. Consider these markets are really rallying. But when I talk of South Korea index, I'm talking of the benchmark of KOSPI, it's also up for reading almost 4,038.39. But this is the highest also with an after that. This rally has been boosted by the chips making giant Samsung electrics. These electronics. These are the ones that is also pushing that market up as to speak. But I can't get away from Singapore. Singapore index is also up, and that's that of why that of Australia is also in the green. Good news for the market. And then India is there also in the green at this at this hour. For me, it's a good news for what for Asia market. We'll quickly look into what is happening in Europe because of our time. We have time to look at the numbers today. The European market or stocks are also looking in the green, and as a result of our trade talk and also tech earnings and Fed, decision being the focus in that market. But to start with, the first trading week usher in the 11th month of the year have started on a positive note with investors looking ahead to see the outcome of what the central bank policy meetings that are coming, both in Fed and that of also ECB, all of them to see the outcome at the end of the day, and also seeing the move also that the trade talk between US and China, we have said earlier, are getting better, and I see that more corporate earnings will come to shape the market. Good news, but I tell you that the index in this market are also looking up. We talk about the DS index, that is the Germany index, is up by 0.2, and that of France CAC 40 is also up by 0.1, and that of UK, which is a FTSE 100, is also unchanged as to speak. But let's see at the end of the day how this market will grow. But for me, it's the good news that what is happening, the what call it, the trade, the US and China trade framework has been put together, and that will further boost what the way the market will continue to go, especially if earnings that all us and the fluctuate rate that have started early before now continuing in that direction of posting better number, that will also lead to higher prices because of what the more rate is called, is being called in this market on the different economy. We expect to see that stock market will react to that will further boost market, and also if inflation also starts hitting lower again, and also that also expected to see all these are what go to see going to the week, and at the end of the day, I believe that when this meeting that have been expected, central banks meetings that are policy meetings expected, from Japan, back of Canada, all of them are happening this week. Why that of central banks also widely expected to also maintain, their rate to maintain their rate policy given inflation around the report. That means that we expect to see that all these actions are likely to work to boost economic growth and sustain, the trend we are seeing. That means sustainability will be sustained. Let me put it that way. We're going to see that at the end of the day, we're going to see that sentiment will remain positive for equity as rates continue to come down. Really, that's going to boost a company performance in the different. Even here down in Nigeria, as far as are still forward NPC meeting coming in November. If also that happens, we're going to see a further fund flowing to the equity, where we expect to see that the policy meeting in Nigeria are likely also to cut rate. Finally, let's look at the commodity market and that of US market. As we look at commodity market, we're seeing that oil price is becoming a bit stable at this hour after the news or the sentiment forward that China and US trade talk are going in that direction. That also have boosted the oil price, crude oil price as we speak, meaning that the two largest economy in the world are the world economy. That also have pushed oil price a bit up this morning, even when it's a bit stable. But I believe that we're seeing crude oil around almost 65.17 as we speak right away. That is a plus for the oil price rebounding to boost the income of the oil producing economy. Even when we to see stability, even between this 65 or 70, that also will be better. the global economy inflation figure will be likely to manage, because the more oil price go up, the more it affects. But oil price remains relatively stable is also a plus that we expect also to go. These are the things that are likely to shape the market going to the future, especially in 2026. That is why you, as a trader investor, you must pay attention to what is happening around you. It is very, very important. Any market you are trading, understand the system and what is going on. At the end of the day, you become a better and also a profitable trader. Putting all this information into use, because that is what influence what decision and also influence market sentiment. Yes, like I said, US market, all the indices are in green, looking higher on the strength of what of the US China trade talks making progress, and that also all eyes are still on earnings in US, or more earnings to hit the market. These are the things that also supporting the market as we speak, because these major earnings and also the announcement of the central bank, all this do this week about rate further cut. These are the things that are likely to also to impact this market. But as we speak, like I said earlier, all the indices are in green, suggesting that the investors are looking what trying to take position ahead of more numbers and also stability in terms of knowing direction of this trade, this food, or the link out all this fight between China and the US being put in place, and also we are finding the direction. They are finding not to they are finding direction as we speak. But I say that the fair trading of the week for US market is purely in green. And I expect that this will be another busy week for most of this market. Like I mentioned, the name of central bank that will be meeting this week. That also shape why we expect to see our old come next week, next month, by God grace, in November. For all these, tech companies also releasing results, also going to influence a lot of activities, coupled with what decision of these banks and that the central bank, that will be good news for the market. As we speak, that June is up by 0.7, gaining 323 basic points, and S&P is up by 0.9. That's about 58 basic points up, and come back to see what is happening in NASDAQ. NASDAQ is up by what 285 basic points, representing 1.1% in degree. All the three major index of this market are posted a positive number, fueled by the cooling inflation figure, inflation data, and also expecting also the outcome of the meeting that is going on between the US and China. As regards all these are also trying to shape the market, and also all eyes are still on what on rate flash that will come from the meeting. These are the things that are shaping the market as to speak right away, and investors are taking advantage of this with more corporate earnings, like I said, being positive already in US market, has given investor insight or clarity of what the state of the US economy is heading at this moment, and that media kind of buying interest we are seeing, even when a prolonged federal government shutdown has also derived investors and policymakers trying to push out the next indicators and all that. But I believe that investors are taking advantage of what is happening in the environment to make informed investment decisions. Which also we here down here in Nigeria, we also do the same thing, and that use what is happening around you to make it, especially as the year end is coming. Also, don't forget that most of the central bank meeting is the last meeting they're having for this year, and that also usher most of the economy or market with disease before the first FPC meeting or policy meeting in that new year. But I think at the outcome of this one will go a long way to the first market. As I said earlier, more earnings are expected to hit the market, immediately in US market, China, and Europe, and also here in Nigeria. We expect to see by between now and Friday more earnings to hit the market to shape and give direction. Like I said, gold has also kind of pulled back a little, because of the information around before. There's kind of a safe haven for gold. People have seen that the tension between US and China, that also kind of lead to price of gold sliding a little, around 4,060.8 as to speak. Yes, as to speak right away now. But they can tell that other metal prices are also looking at this hour, even as they win in the previous week as profit also have followed, seeing what the outcome of this meeting. Yes, we come back to Africa and look at the African market, which is NGS as one of them. You look at what is happening in South Africa, the market is also still stable. That of Kenya and Ghana. And so if you look at Egypt now, also we're seeing that the market is mixed and also relatively flat right away. But let's pay attention to what is happening on NGS right now before we'll dive into looking at the earnings or the numbers, we'll call it, to see how this represent the whole market and where it's heading to. And this I would also discuss it before our time is spent. Let's also look at this figure now. If we look at what is happening on NGS right now, NGS here is on slightly green right away. We're seeing that the index is reading around as we speak 155,773.12. Now marginally in the green around 0.013 is what the index is gaining right away after seeing a trade range of 155,336.50 to as high as 155,935.31. You can see that market have opened on a good note, gone as high as that before. For quickly, you can look at the chart here. This for yesterday or Friday. I think that we are seeing like almost a plus. The buyers, sellers and buyer are content. Who's in charge of the market? We are seeing a plus sign at this point here. Indecision, among investors and traders, and also we'll see who will dominate the market. But at the end of the day, we will know. But I can tell you that looking at the market breadth or market internal, we're seeing that the sellers are dominating right away. The market has remained in bid as high cap stock like Arade has gained almost 10%. That has supported the market. But right now we're having a negative market breadth, having 24 decliners and 13 advancers at this point. Say that people are taking profit, but I believe that post-flow reshuffling and settle return has continued ahead of more, and especially as more eyes are on the high cap price, the high cap earnings, not price, sorry, and that is life of Dangote, cement earnings, and most of them are also in consumer goods. We have seen some numbers from the insurance company being missed, and that of the banks also being missed, even when the one that came from Stanbic IBTC are standing to a level. But I see that all eyes will see how the banks, although that have gained from FX gain, trying to struggle this time, are still reflecting both in some insurance numbers that come so far and that of banks that they are recording FX losses as opposite of what we saw in 2024, and that is what trading for. That's why in equity invested, you don't still put in one position. You navigate what is happening in the market and the economy to work to make informed investment decision. Yes, right away we'll go to straight to looking at these numbers that we'll have to discuss today, so that our time will be able to finish them before before the time is fast spent. Let's quickly look at those companies as we speak now. I've mentioned earlier that the stock that are dominating the beginners like Arade, 10%, we're seeing also saving, internal NEM insurance, we're seeing Women Bank. These are the top 5. We're seeing, and then talk of we saw a pullback in the initial PSC at Apollo, Universal Insurance, and that of Fidelity and Solventrust. These are the ones that are on the user side. At the top end, the 5 users for us to speak now. But let's let's move to see how these numbers are looking at. I feel this is the index movement and chart, but want to pay attention. Let's start from the Q2 number that came from Access Bank. That will give us enough. Let's see, because this is what market have all eyes are for now. For the number coming below market expectation, for the price expected to move lower than the faster, but we are seeing a little resistance. You see that all eyes are still on Q3 number. Now that they really have audited account for half year without entry dividend, the numbers are below expectation, and market also have factored in what has happened, in the result of UBA and others. But Access one has been like a divergent from others. But let's see if the Q3. But let's start from the numbers of assets. We know that the assets have increased their share in issue because of primary market activities. They just concluded and able to meet and surpass what the CBN required, 500 billion for international bank. But if you look at the top line of this company, yes, let's look at you can see interest income. But quickly look at the gross earning. The gross earning of this company moved from 2.1 trillion to 2.5 trillion. That's about almost 14% But in our standard, I'll say this is also below investor criteria for picking a strong and a good company. We said that this season that yes, that inflation is still high. For you to see companies doing well, top line and bottom line, it must be two times of what inflation. You can see the figure was here 40, you can see it's below two times of Nigeria inflation today. The bottom line also the same thing. So now yes, we have seen the interest income looking up good about 38 or 40%. Good will say that also net interest income also, if you look at this figure here, they are all looking good here. But at the end of the day, we pay attention to what the bottom line, which is profit after tax. You can see that there's a huge increase in their tax. You can see that the tax had about almost 50, 55% increase in their tax. These are the part of that we also weigh on the company's bottom line. But I feel that provision is part of it, and also knowing that FS here we can say FS gain here, and that also contributed, and also impairment with provision. All these one word or the other has impacted this number. But at the end of the day, investors said, what is the earning per share of this company? Where are they going from here? Because there's a kind of a decline, and we are not surprised because of share issue has also been ballooned, has expanded. That we are seeing that earning per share drop from as high as 7 naira 60 kobo in 2024 to as low as 3 naira 70 kobo for assets. But if you look at the profit margin also, which is also very important, pay attention to it. The profit margin also has dropped for this period, also for this half year as we are looking at the figure. But at the end of the day, there was no reward for shareholders, and that has been a kind of concern for market players and others. But I believe that investors should not bother much, especially for long-term investors, knowing that Access is a major player in the financial sector of Nigeria. We expect that if their subsequent results, like Q3 of full year, show a sign of recovery. That's why if you're long-term, don't panic at all. The rest for traders that have set their stop loss can equally also look at their stop loss. Once they can also come easily. But if you see that yes, we are not in haste because where the market is going, the bank still has future, even when also rate cuts will be also another kind of burden for banks, because they are the major trader, or player in the physical market. The more the rate is coming down, good for the economy. They might feel some, but I tell you that with the money the banks are sitting on, I expect the bank to do better because they can do other business, for the economy to support the $1 trillion economy of the nation. For me, I'm not fear of the financial sector because that is the engine of any economy, and our banks are solid to play their role, especially to support the expanding the economy. If you also look at the assets of this bank, their assets are still also solid. I'll tell you that for free that assets is still solid. If you're looking at assets, if you look at also their total equity is still positive, a good one for the bank. And if you look at other also their retained earnings is also positive. For me, that is where I'm looking at, and net assets is secure. For me, there's no cause for alarm. Also, I tell you that most financial institutions like banks, most time when you look at their cash flow, most of them are most times are in negative. And that does not say that the banks are doing well or the company is because of the nature of their business. If you look at assets, I can see that can see from a positive of almost a trillion, 3.7 trillion, can see about negative of this might be just how to keep you all to what to see subsequently how it look like. I believe that investors should pay attention. Looking at this number, the profit and loss account, the assets, the balance sheet, sorry, and also the cash flow is very, very important so that you make what inform investment decision. And then the people look at what is happening also because of our time, what is happening in Stanbic IBTC. I'll tell you this one of the stock in the bank sector. I told you that it's a defensive stock, really. In performance, and also their share is relatively small, and also their shareholding structure have helped this bank to remain stable. Even and I'll tell you that in history of Nigeria, I think this is the first company that have done share recapitalization, and today are selling above above where their reported price. Even when also they are also raise funds, consider that their price remains stable above 100 naira. For me, it's a good sign of stability. And if you want to play defensive in the financial sector, banking sector, this is the stock you also keep your eyes on. If you look at the top line of this company, looking at the total, total, income, you can see come down here. You can see what if you are seeing the same thing. If you come here and look at the total, income of this company or this bank, from our calculation, you can see that it moved from 639.8 billion to 784.9 billion. That is huge. For me, it's a good one. 2.7. And actually, if you look at also, that's why I say this I think look at, if you look at the criteria I mentioned earlier, that it must be above inflation figure times 2. You can see that it is 22. But if you also go down and see the bottom line of this company, which is profit after tax, come here for the period, you can see there's a huge movement here. So you can see it for yourself here. For me, it's a good one for the bank. For you can see it from here, from here to this point. That is almost 5.2 or 5.3% here. It's a good one. Look at it. And look at this one. For me, it's a good one for this also this company at the end, this bank at the end, or holding company at the end of the day. But if you also look at the interest income was also up, by almost 37, like lack of Access Bank for income. But at the end of the day, you look at what is the profit after tax, but that is where investors are really paying attention. Like I said, for this, Stanbic has also met, that means for out of our criteria, I see that yes, Stanbic is still now meet all of them compared to that of Access that though is below the 2 times inflation, but for bottom line, which is a good one for the company for Access. Also, if you also look at the earning per share for this period, it's also very good that you pay attention to it, because it helps you to really know what is happening in that company. Also able to understand. If you look at the figure here for earning per share, you can see that it's an improvement from 13 naira 90 kobo to almost 17 naira 31 kobo. You can see that is also a good one for you to pay attention. Good for me to say Stanbic is a stock also to watch at all time, especially for those that want to play defensive in the market. Because of our tariffs are moving fast there. If you also look at the assets of Stanbic, it's not totally a bad one. There are also cash flow also. The cash flow is also plus. I'll tell you that for free. You can see, like I told you, if you look at for the group, you can see that net operating cash flow. Look at for the trade is about 1.8 billion. It's about 500. This about a trillion, and this about now. You can see this was in a billion, but negative, just like also. These are the things. Other was like a cash flow investment, cash flow in investment, and also that of finance. But for this financial company, like I mentioned, that is why we are seeing this figure in this pattern. Here's a quick look at what is happening in NEM. NEM has been a leader in the insurance company. Who can say, oh, custodian is in a whole, it's a conglomerate. You can say that's why you are reclassified. But yes, they have arm of insurance, but in the insurance industry today, I'll tell you that NEM is leading in price and also in performance in terms of number, which is good, and that has sustained the price. Even though the NEM is among the top winners, this morning as we speak, to see that market is trying to work good number ahead of what the full year. NEM has demonstrated good reward for shareholders from 50 kobo to 1 naira. The possibility that at almost this third quarter they have surpassed they've crossed 2 naira earning per share, and that's about 2 naira after 24 kobo. I believe that this can also support a good dividend at the end of the day if they're able to hit 3 naira or also hit 4 naira. I can see investors are likely to see good reward, and also on the strength of their balance sheet. I see that this company has only taken also to acquire other insurance companies, in that industry, and that also support their number at the end of the day. That's why as a trader investor, you must look at these numbers and don't just look away from them. They ask the world for influencing, especially those that are taking decision to see those stocks they want to buy in at the right time. That's why we must pay attention to all these numbers as a way of influencing decision of investors, especially Q3 number that is very, very important to open your eyes to see that yes, you expect to see a good reward at the end of the day. If you look at the top line, looking at this, if you look at the insurance company, look at the insurance revenue, which is 37. You can see it from here. You can see that there's a huge movement is for 90 for 3 months, right? For the night from January to September, and this for the third quarter of July towards September. You can see there's a great movement here in terms of change. You see that as at 2024, how about 69 52 billion, against the the current year of 107.44 billion. That represents about 55% up. You can see this has met investor criteria of above 2 times inflation. You can see today also our inflation today, inflation rate is below 20, and times by today it's also around 40 point something, but now it's 55%. Or for me, it's a good one for them. If you also go down to see, like I said, that attention is more on what the profit after tax and then also the profit margin. If you look at this company, I'll tell you that the profit after tax also stood out or stand out, anyone want to call it, by 51% growth, moving from 13.56 billion to 20.51 billion. This is huge forward for 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 NEM insurance, and that is why we are seeing that investors are, and also don't forget this is a company that successfully also have done share reconstruction with relatively share issue. They can acquire even though to boost their assets and boost their position in the market. I believe that is why investors are already keen on this company right away as we speak. Look at the earning per share of this company. It moves, like I said earlier, from from what I'm seeing here, like it go from, sorry, it has surpassed from 2 naira 70 kobo to 4 naira 9 kobo as we speak. And why the P ratio also move, also improved, from every years from 13 times to 16.14 times. This shows that yes, your waiting period on the board as numbers improve, we expect to see a good one. And at the end of the day, if you look at the earnings yield, of 15% for me is not a bad one for them. And this has given investor an insight of what they should expect from them at the end of the day. And that is how you should also position yourself when it comes to what investing. Let's look at the balance sheet, was the the cash flow now. Cash flow of this company also tell you that where they are coming from. Look at their cash flow. Look at the the net cash flow. Okay, this for investing. Now let's quickly look at the cash flow for operation. Yes, cash flow for operation. You can see at the end of the day, you can see the movement here. For me, it's a good one for the company. Now operating cash flow, you can see it here. Yeah. Yes, for 20 days, it's a little down from what we saw in 2024, but that tells you that yes, as far as the number is looking up, it's a pointer for us to buy. I told you in this class that when earnings is going up and cash flow is declining, you pay attention. When you see for first quarter, check your order. If you see for the previous year, check the current year. You see to see if it's improving or a turnaround. Fine, but any company that earnings going up, cash flow is looking down. That also be wary. At most times, if you understand the nature of their business, it also help you to make what informed investment decision at the end of the day. For me, NEMs are standing industry, and also it has all it takes to swallow other insurance company in terms of margin. A quick one, the last part of our time, they will give me a sign already that I've overshot the time. Yes, what to look at what has happened this transportation or service company. You can see this equity number, just like we're seeing access equity number. If you look at this number, I'll tell you that yes, it speaks volume for this company, and that is a plus for them. And investors should also use this to also assess what we should expect from these companies at the end of the day, especially those that are into transportation in Nigeria. What are they doing today? What is going to impact their number? It's very, very important that we pay attention to such, at any time we are doing our analysis, that it will help you to make what informed decision on your own. If you look at this company now, I will tell you that looking at the top line and bottom line, you might say it's a mixed number because the top line was up by almost 14%, moving from, you can see for yourself here, this is the 9 months. You can see for yourself here. Let's go back and see for the company. We also notice from the company for the 9 months. You can see for 9 months here to this, that's about from 9.7 billion, 9.7 to 11.12, 11.2 billion. That's about 14% up. But like I said earlier, or 50%, which is below the 20%, the 2 times inflation. Because also if you look at the PAT, okay, I've said that that's about look at the PAT here yourself. You can know that this is massive from here. That is about 230, to 459 million, 230.14 million, and that's about 99% or 100% as we speak. You can say this is more than 4 times inflation figure today, and it tells you that this is also a good number. Also, at the end of the day, look at the earning per share for this company. It's also, because that is where you and I are paying attention. Earning per share move from 24 kobo to what, to 48 kobo, compared to the previous year. Good one, and that is why investors expect to see, at the end of the day, a better, dividend that they've seen in 2025 that ended in March. For me, it's a good move for this company, and also for that to see the numbers below, which I mean the summary of the assets here, the book balance sheet here, you can see it here, assets, shareholders fund. You can see these are positive, looking that there's an uptrend movement, from the previous year. For me, it's a good one for the company. At the end of the day, we are seeing that this company is also moving faster, and I believe that it's going to support the price at the end of the day. So I mentioned earlier that you can see that the earning per share here, you can see from 24 to 48 for the group, and why for the company from 9 naira to today. These are the things that will guide us making our decision. You can see also the assets have also grown, from 10 point something billion to what, to 10.4. So these are things to look at, and at the end of the day, the share in issue also is relatively small also to guide investor. Around 1 billion share, for me, is also a good one for investor to look at, to pay attention to at the end of the day. Sorry, around that below 1 billion share. Let's see how it go at the end of the day. On this note, I will say thank you and see you, in the next Wednesday, sorry, the next section on Wednesday by God's grace. But quickly, you can see that the market can still remain dicey. You can see that the buyers and sellers are still fighting at the end of this. You can see it here. Let's wait and see for this afternoon to conclude how the market will go. So on this note, I'll say thank you. See you on Wednesday. Bye.